Great to have you with us. Now, the Food and Drugs Authority is investigating a suspected food poisoning incident at Boateng Senior High School at Koforidua in the Eastern Region. 11 students were hospitalized after eating waakye, a popular meal prepared with rice and beans. That is, they ate this on Monday from the school's kitchen. But the headmaster of the school, John Hodgson Arthur, tells Joy News the affected student ate the waakye from a bush canteen. That's quite confusing there, determining who is actually telling the truth. So let's go live to the Eastern Region correspondent, Kofi Siao, because he has visited the regional hospital at Koforidua, where the students are receiving treatment. Hello, Kofi. How many students are currently on admission, and how are they doing? Well,
currently, I can tell you that the health officials from the New Jabe Municipal Health Directorate are giving us 36 of the students affected, and the headmaster earlier on told me 11 of them were affected. So it's quite conflicting figures that both sides are giving me. So I'm still looking into that matter as to how many of them have been affected.
So help us understand again, how many are the hospital given?
Come again?
Is the hospital giving us a figure?
No. The hospital authorities have remained tight-lipped. Anytime you went to them, the officials tell you to speak to the school authorities or the health officials from the regional directorate.
Have we been able to establish where exactly the students ate the waakye from?
Well, Daniel, that is also another issue of contention, because the headmaster earlier told me they ate the waakye from a bush canteen in the school. But when the health officials met the headmaster in his office, the disease control officer for the New Jabe Municipal Health Directorate told the headmaster, and we all gathered there, that they've interviewed some of the students, and they say they ate from the school's kitchen.
What has the FDA been saying as it began its investigation?
Well, as of now, they haven't passed any comments. They are tight-lipped. They are saying that later in the day, they will speak to the issue.
Thank you very much, Kofi Siao, for that update. Now, medical superintendent of the Jurapa St. Joseph Hospital, Dr. Richard has been speaking. Dr. Richard Woda Seme has expressed worry over the delay in the reimbursement of monies owed them by the National Health Insurance Authority. The NHIA currently owes the facility an amount of 1,897,505 Ghana cedis since May 2017. Now, the doctor says this is affecting the operations of the hospital and wants the NHIA to redeem its pledges. There's more in this report filed by Rafiq Salam.
Established some 65 years ago, the Jiriba St. Joseph Hospital continues to be one of the preferred destinations for healthcare in the region and beyond, largely because of its dedicated and committed workforce. Medical superintendent of the hospital, Dr. Richard Woda Seme, stated that the hospital has maintained its unique identity in the provision of quality health care to its clients, but was quick to concede that it has not been achieved on a silver platter. He noted that the erratic reimbursement of monies owed by the National Health Insurance Authority to the hospital forces them to sometimes pass the inefficiencies to the poor clients.
96% of all hospital attendants are bearers of National Health Insurance card. Yet, the scheme has only reimbursed up to May 2017, with the rest of the months yet to be settled. Due to this poor flow of funds, we owe suppliers huge sums of money, and most of them are not willing to give us consumables to work with. It is therefore a common sight to be faced with frequent stockouts of drugs and non-drug consumables. Under such difficult conditions, the hospital is usually compelled to pass these inefficiencies to our poor clients, who are asked to pay top-ups for various services.
Dr. Woda Seme said the National Health Insurance Scheme is a good pro-poor policy intervention and call on Ghanaians to depoliticize the scheme to enable it to achieve its intended purpose. The issue of abandoned projects also found space in the medical superintendent's speech.
And a classic example is this edifice, which is staring direct at us. This is supposed to be our administration block, but has been abandoned for the past 10 years. There are other staff quarters which have also been left to rot. We are therefore appealing to the Municipal Assembly to consider capturing these projects in their budget to enable them be completed. Our fence wall is not complete, and this allows miscreants to have access into our hospital, thereby terrorizing both clients and staff.
Jiriba Municipal Chief Executive Christian Bombanya Amodu stated that the Assembly will continue to commit resources to the health sector. The Assembly has therefore earmarked 37.48% of its budget for the social sector, which includes health and education.
Being aware of the human resource and infrastructural challenges in the health sector, the Assembly commits itself to improving the situation in various ways, including the following. A. Providing infrastructure in the form of CHIP compound and accommodation for health professionals. Indeed, the Assembly will soon commence the procurement process for construction of CHIP compound at Kampala and Zagua under the District Development Facility.
Some past and present staff of the hospital were rewarded for their dedication to duty. The theme for the celebration was Workers' Day celebration, emulating Son Joseph the worker to increase output of staff. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Jiriba.
To Parliament now, where Deputy Special Prosecutor nominee Cynthia Jane Nakoshi-Lamte says her 29 years experience in fighting corruption makes her suitable for the job. Responding to questions before Parliament's Appointments Committee, Madame Lamte says she will guard against conflict of interest in the discharge of her role in supporting the office of the Special Prosecutor. We've been joined on the line by Elton John Brobe, who is currently in Parliament. Elton, what else has Madame Lamte been saying?
Well, so some few issues have come up. She's been on this in the last hour and 15 minutes. She's still being cross-examined based on the nomination that the President put before Parliament. Now, the question about her competence and whether she's taken a bribe before in her duty as State Attorney, she responded that her competence is without question. And that explains the reason why the President has nominated her for the position of a Deputy Special Prosecutor. And that she's never taken a bribe during her work as a State Attorney. She even went on to mention the fact that among some of her successes was the fact that she was able to prosecute and put in jail a sitting High Court judge and a registrar of the court during her prosecution duties. She's also been talking about the kind of relationship she expects with Mr. Martinamido, who is the substantive Special Prosecutor. For her, as a Deputy State Attorney, she has some working relationship with Mr. Martinamido. She described him as very temperamental, but according to her, notwithstanding, she's going to the office to prosecute corrupt cases and people who are politically exposed, and that is her overriding, conviction. The other, human attributes of Mr. Martinamido is not something that she is looking at, and that she will find a way to accommodate the other aspects of Mr. Martinamido. She also asked about what her proposal may be to reform the justice system in the country. She responded by saying that first, there should be regulation, on adjournment. There should be a time limit as to how many times a case can be adjourned within its, trial time. She says that if this is done, it will help speed up a case, and that there should also be pre-bargaining where people who are standing trial on criminal charges can enter into a lesser plea. So these are some of the issues that have come up so far.
Elton, tell us about the general demeanor of the vetting. How have the vetting committee members or the nominations committee members been dealing with her?
Well, I think that her responses to some of the questions have rather been short and non-detailed. Obi Amwa had a question, and I think Obi Amwa was expecting her to provide more details on that particular question, but within a amount of 20 seconds, she was done with the response. I think the follow-up of Obi Amwa was that, is that all, meaning that he expected more, and that has been the culture since she started responding to questions. Her answers have been short, non-detailed, and I think for some, she's not coming across as somebody who is loud and talkative as to experience with Mr. Martinabene. Indeed, that has been the only thing that has been told. Her answers have been short and straight to the point, non-detailed as far as the matters in question are concerned.
Who are some of the notable people who accompanied her to the appointments committee hearing?
The husband and some employees from the Attorney General's Department, general people from the Legal Council. Right.
Thank you very much, Elton John Brobe, for joining us this morning. Elton John Brobe is at the vetting of Cynthia Lamte, who is Deputy Special Prosecutor nominee. Now, moving on, over 3 million people along the coastal belt of the country are anxious to see government's promises to construct 10 landing beaches fulfilled. At the manifesto launch of the NPP, the party promised to construct 10 landing beach sites and provide other tools and facilities for the development of a sustainable fishery sector. But the fishermen say none of the 10 landing beach sites had been constructed and not much has been done to improve their lot. Richard Kojonyako has our Joy News agenda for today.
It's a Monday afternoon and the fisher folks here at Elmina are busily mending their nets after a night of fruitless search for fish. The new patriotic party in the run-up to the 2016 elections promised the fishermen it would build 10 landing beach sites in the various fishing communities along the country's coasts. The party was convinced the promise was part of its major vision to transform Ghana's fishing industry if it was voted into power. The focal person for the NPP's agric ahead of the 2016 elections, Elizabeth Afolekwe, now the fisheries minister, at the party's manifesto launch, said the NPP would develop a sustainable fisheries sector by making available the necessary tools and facilities for fisher folks in Ghana's fishing communities. But the fishermen say such promises are yet to be fulfilled. Towns like Manford, Winneba, Cape Coast, Apam, Mori were all promised landing beach sites, but they are yet to be delivered. I will plead with government to look at the needs of the fishermen. Now the world is becoming a scientific place. When you promise the fishermen, they won't forget the promise. They will hold you down on the promise. Because previous administration, where the mistake can be, why any catch on one pen? When you do something against the fisherman, do not think he has forgotten. He will certainly punish you if care is not taken. And that's all. Ejabedu is a fisherman at Central Region's Elmina. He was part of the people that protested against the previous government for the hardships the fishermen claimed they were going through. Bedu feels people responsible for the fisheries sector in government should literally drop the pen and paper and come down to the grounds to see their challenges.
Campaign campaign now I'm a major way for na maka champion for the master one for piano to changakra na yamblo.
When the government was campaigning for votes, we all went to the coastal communities to convince them to vote for the government because we were disappointed with the previous administration. We will plead that they put their pen and paper down and come down to see things for themselves. His colleague, Papa Kojo, shares similar sentiments but believes government should be given some time to fulfill its promise of the construction of the landing beach sites since some positive steps have already been taken by government. When any government comes to power, it needs to put things in place before they tackle their promises. They might have some challenges. They have 4 years, and we want to believe they will honor their promises. The trawlers are becoming too many on the sea, while the local fishermen are also using light for fishing. The fishermen continue to use illegal fishing methods. Government needs to tackle these as they promised. All these are contributory factors and the reasons why there is declining fish stocks. Like Ejabedu, Papa Koju wants government to get fishermen some outboard motors since it is becoming scarce for the fisher folks to get equipment for their work. The fishermen on a daily basis pray and hope that government that promised them many goodies during its manifesto launch would deliver on its promise to the fishermen. Richard Kwejunyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Still watching Joy News today with me, Daniel. That's the story's gone by so far. Deputy Special Prosecutor to be Cynthia Lamte has assured of guarding against conflict of interest if she is sworn into office, as she is before Parliament's Appointments Committee to be quizzed for her role. Also, Food and Drugs Authority begins investigations into alleged food poisoning incident in Koforidua, which has left 11 students of the Oti Boateng Senior High School hospitalized in the eastern region. Up ahead in the bulletin, persons with disability hits the streets in Kumasi to protest government's decision barring them from benefiting from the District Assembly Common Fund. That's coming up, and a lot other stories. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, government has responded to the concerns of tanker drivers, saying it will begin investigations into their complaints and address their respective issues. The Petroleum Tanker Drivers Union, among other things, is lamenting ill treatment at the hands of oil marketing companies. Chairman of the union, George Nyonu, says after their threats yesterday, government has responded positively.
Yes, what exactly affecting the meter at Kumasi along somewhere 2007, an exercise has been carried from here to Kumasi, yes, which we detected that the meters are archaic meters. Then they promised changing the meters. By then it was Nana as boss manager. Up to now, the meters are still working. Yes, they are still using the meters, which is affecting the drivers. So we complained severally to boss, and they promised changing the meters.
Okay.
So we send our challenges before the president. Clearly speaking, let me make this thing clear. We are not against the president because the president gave directives to the minister to address our issues. We have a manual book from Energy Commission of Ghana, which guides petroleum product loading and discharging procedures. Most of them don't use it, except the giant companies like Total, Goe, and then Share.
Okay.
But the rest are not using. You get there, you discharge under the ground by the supervisor's authority. After dropping the product, then they come out, they dip they are underground, then they tell you short 300, 400. And you know, a liter of product today in this country, calculate and see, multiply by at least 200 liters or 300 liters. So at the end of the month, if the driver thinks he works and he will go for his salary from his transporter, the moment you get there, the transporter also tell you the underground shortage he paid for. He cannot pay for underground shortage and pay for your salary again, which I, being the chairman, I agree with the transporters. As I speak to you now, yes, they respond quickly to our letter, which they address the issue from Monday to today as I speak to you.
Now moving on, a Ga traditional priest and spokesperson for the committee ensuring the compliance of the ban on drumming and noise-making, Numo Blafo, says traditional priests of Ga communities are expected to use congenial atmospheres created by the ban to say intercessory prayers for the Ga people and Ghanaians at large. Joy News' checks in some parts of the Greater Accra region and some other Ga communities revealed a strict compliance with the directive. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba has been speaking with Numo Blafo on this development.
And during this time too is when we, the priests and the priestesses and others, we go into what we call our Gbachun occasionally to pray for good harvest, to pray for the good of the state, the country at large. So when we pray, we don't just pray for Ghana alone, but we pray for the collective whole. That is the Ghana as a whole. And even maybe if we can reach to God to even spare the world of certain catastrophes, yes, we pray so that at least there will be general peace everywhere, so that we can also have some peace to live and go about our normal activities. Within the Gamashi area, there is compliance, but on the outskirts is what or where we normally anticipate people will be a bit stubborn and all that, and that is where our task forces have actually been dispersed to go to see that people are complying. This is very troubling and worrying. Though we have chieftaincy issues all over Ghana, there's no region where we don't have chieftaincy issues. But all the time, it seems Ghana chieftaincy issues are more prominent because this is the capital, so all eyes are here. Therefore, whatever we do, even the little spark, then it's like everywhere is burning. So I will just plead with the claimants that, look, they are elders and they know the right thing. We should come together, find the problems, whatever the problems are. We can settle them. We can settle it with words, not with bullets or cutlasses and machetes and clubs and all that.
Now moving on, the Ghana Federation of Disability has embarked on a demonstration to force governments to come clear on the fresh guidelines on the distribution of the District Assembly Common Fund. This follows a one-week ultimatum they gave to governments to respond to their demands. According to the Federation, the new guidelines are making it impossible for a majority of its members to access the funds. This includes persons under 18 and persons above 60. Kumasi Metro President of the Federation, Prince Deborah, is accusing the Common Fund Administrator of verbally giving the directive to the various DCEs across the country.
For this demonstration was the delayance of our monies at this assembly, because we've heard that the monies has been given to the assemblies across the country, and KMA hasn't done anything for us since the monies was released to their coffers, and we have waited so long for this money to be disbursed to us. And that is why we came this morning to the mayor for his explanation for the delayance of the Common Fund to be given to us. And he has explained a whole lot to us. And the other aspect is there was a directive made by the Common Fund Administrator, that is Natoshi, on cutting some ages out of the Common Fund of benefiting, which is ages of 0 to 18 years are not productive, so that they cannot access the Common Fund. And our fathers who are above 60 years should not were not entitled to enjoy this Common Fund. They should rather go to enjoy the LEAP, which is not more accessible for our old age people. So these are one of the challenges, or the peculiar one that we came out to demonstrate, so that she should go and come back with the old directives or the old guideline that has been approved by Parliament of Ghana since President Kufuor was in power. And there's this guideline that has been in existence for so long. So coming out with these new directives for them to use to cut some ages out of the Common Fund is not fair. That is most of our grievances that we brought out this morning.
Still watching Joy News today with Daniel Daz. It's now time for business with Emmanuel Hawajuyafi.